Should I buy a gun is a question people ask. It's an intricate question you should marinate with thought. This decision being made means you focus on the task to absorb your state's laws, seek out training to be taught. But this burden is a weighty one. Do what you need to do. Hesitation gets your weapon taken and turned against you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome once again to my channel, Stop Effing Killing. I'm your host, the MOD, also known as the Method of Delivery. Before we get into today's topic, please like, share, and subscribe if you find anything that resonates with you. So today's topic is, should you buy a firearm? Again, should you buy a firearm? I've been asked that question many times over my adult years of whether, a person should buy a firearm or not. And my answer has always been the same, and that is, it depends. So, there are over 342 million people in this country, according to the July 2025 census. Now, it is estimated that there are over 500 million firearms in circulation in the United States of America as we speak. And many sources say that that number is actually low due to firearms that are, unregistered, ghost guns, so on and so forth, things like that. That means that each and every single person in this country can be handed a firearm, and then you will have millions more left just waiting in reserve. So, the first thing that I ask a person is, can you legally own a firearm? Are you a convicted felon? Have you been convicted of domestic violence? Are you under the influence of alcohol, or are you addicted to some type of illegal drugs? If any of those things apply to you, then you definitely should not have a firearm. And with that, I'm also going to add mental illness. I'm not for people who, have these certain issues owning firearms. I am an avid firearm owner. I own multiple firearms myself. However, there are just some people who just should not have firearms. So you decide, yes, I am going to buy a firearm. I'm not a criminal. I'm not mentally ill or anything like that, or addicted to drugs or alcohol. I want to buy a firearm. Well, the next thing you have to do, you have to ask yourself this question morally. Are you okay with changing your life and someone's life forever? Because if in the event that you do use a firearm, which would be deadly force, and you unalive somebody or cripple them for life, are you mentally okay with that? Are you morally okay with that? Are you spiritually okay with that? Not to mention the legal aspects of it, where you have to justify your actions in a court of law, to the state prosecutor, sometimes to the news media. I mean, you have to justify what you did, So you say, okay, I'm morally and spiritually okay with, buying a firearm and using it against another human being if, I have to. So why are you buying it? Are you buying the firearm for personal defense, personal carry, home defense? Are you buying it to keep it in your car? Are you buying it to hunt with? Are you buying it to plink, or to shoot at, little cans or into some kind of targets? There are alternatives to firearms for self-defense if that is why you, are considering buying one. You have pepper spray, you have a knife, batons, stun guns. Now, there are legalities with owning these things in each state, so you as the individual need to familiarize yourself with your own state's laws, and even some cities and counties and other municipalities. The next thing you have to think about is, where do you start? Well, let's look at where you start.
Can I help you?
I'm interested in buying a gun.
Are you a hunter?
No, it would be for self-defense. I need something that can fit into my hand.
Sounds like you're after a handgun. How about something like this?
Yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I can hold it in my hand quite easily.
I'll run the background check and file the necessary paperwork.
Yeah, is there some sort of box you can put this in? Or a bag?
Sorry. There is a waiting period before you can legally purchase this gun.
Oh.
So a person who is upset with another person can't come in here and buy a gun to shoot that person with. Instead, they have to wait a little while before they can do that. Do you have any children?
No, I don't. Just a dog.
Good. If you did have children, I would warn you that the risk of accidental death increases drastically with a gun in the home, but since you don't have any children, that statistic is irrelevant to you. You did mention self-defense, though. Be cautious. In a violent altercation, an armed victim is much more likely to be shot and killed than an unarmed victim. Suicide is more common with gun owners, too. You're really going to love owning a gun.
Okay, all jokes aside, so you have internet research, you have veterans out there and veterans organizations, who are very familiar with firearms. You have sports shooting associations, you have hunting associations, you have the NRA who has, a lot of times they'll have list of NRA certified instructors on their websites. You have, your local law enforcement you can go and talk to. You have hunter safety classes. You have your local firearms range. There are a lot of resources available for you to start your firearms journey. One of the things I will say that you're going to run into as you get into deeper into firearms, and even at the start of it, is certain myths out there that exist about firearms and about people that use them. And one of the biggest myths that I have heard over and over and over again over the years of my existence is that revolvers don't jam, revolvers don't mess up, they're the perfect gun. Well, I used to own a revolver, and my revolver, through no fault of my own, malfunctioned on 2 separate occasions. It broke, and I had to take it to a competent gunsmith to get it fixed both times. The thing is, they're made by man and machine. So something made by man and machine is bound at some point to not function 100% of the time reliably. And so anytime somebody says, oh, well, just buy a revolver and that's it, no. You have to do your own research and buy what you feel comfortable with and what you can afford. Also, there's another myth that women cannot shoot, certain types of weapons. Let's look at an example of that.
Look against her shoulder, I'm not driving her. She needs to slam it against a tree or something.
Squeeze it. Put your tongue back in your mouth.
So as you can clearly tell, this woman, she was shooting a gun that was just way too big for her. And, obviously she, the gun hit her in the head. She wasn't either strong enough or the gun had too much recoil. Whatever the case may be, she had something that she shouldn't have been shooting and got hit in the face with it. Now, if once you decide on, that, hey, I'm okay with buying a firearm, I can legally own a firearm, and I'm going to buy one, and you know what type you're going to buy, go to your local gun range and rent it. Rent multiple types of firearms. Rent some shotguns, rifles, pistols if your, budget allows, to see, what fits you the best. Don't rely on 100% what somebody tells you to get or what you see on the internet or on a YouTube video. Go out there and do this for yourself. Go out there, because in the end, you're going to be the one holding the firearm. You're going to be the one pulling the trigger on it. So go out and find something that fits you. Now, finally, you want to invest in a quality firearm. This is not something that you want to be cheap on, because this firearm, whatever type it may be, may be something that your life depends on, or the lives of your family or friends or loved ones. So you don't want to buy the cheapest firearm you can. Now, something is obviously better than nothing, and a lot of times you can catch sales, especially around the holidays and things like that. But don't go cheap on the firearm. With the firearm, you're going to have to invest in some other things, such as equipment like hearing protection, eye protection, extra magazines, a quality holster, a quality light. Invest in quality ammunition. From personal experience, I can tell you that I almost blew up one of my guns because I was shooting some cheap, poorly made, reloaded ammunition through one of my guns. And a bullet got stuck in the barrel of the gun, which caused the weapon to not be able to properly go into full battery or chamber, around. And that is the only thing that saved this firearm from, exploding. And, at the time I was at best a novice and I didn't know any better. But, when you learn better, you do better. But last and not least, invest in training.
Are teaching women. The manufacturers are making a lot more guns geared towards women.
And if you're hoping to be a first-time buyer, it's recommended you research what type of gun will be best suited for you and get training on how to shoot it.
Seek out competent trainers, competent instructors that will show you how to use your firearm, that will teach you how to break the firearm down, how to put the firearm back together, how to field strip it, to clean it, to maintain it, how to shoot it with either hand, how to, if you're going to carry in a holster, how to draw from, the holster, either hand, how to shoot with either hand, how to shoot around cover, how to shoot kneeling, prone, the difference between concealment and cover, how to shoulder a rifle or a shotgun properly. You have to get training. You don't just want to buy the firearm and throw it in your drawer and then think that you're going to magically know how to use it if a situation comes up. Safety. Safety is one of the biggest things that mess up people who own firearms. Improper storage, allowing their children or someone else's children to gain access to their firearms. Firearms related deaths are the number one unaliver of children and teens between the age of 1 to 19 years old in this country. Things like homicides, things like self-deletion, things like negligent or accidental discharges unalive more kids than any other cause in this country right now. Consider getting a gun safe or a car vault. Maybe you want to get dogs, an alarm. Layer your security so that, unauthorized users can't get to your firearm. How are you going to store it? Are you going to store it, loaded? Are you going to store it unloaded with a lock and key? What are you going to teach your kids about the firearm or firearms that you own? These are all a bunch of things that you have to consider when you decide to buy a firearm. And if you're not going to, at least take all of these things into consideration, then you should not buy a firearm. Which leads me to the point that I always tell people, it depends. It depends on you. It depends on how you are going to interact with that firearm and what you're going to do to keep not just the firearm out of unauthorized hands, but to keep yourself and other people safe with regard to that firearm. This concludes my topic for today. Thank you for listening to me, and my heart goes out to all of those individuals who have lost their lives due to gratuitous violence, because remember, there is no you, there is no me in this battle against violence. There is only we, and we must, with all our hearts, stop the effing killing. Thank you and have a safe day.